Can't tell if. Oh yeah, I am. Seems I'm live. What happens when I push that? That's weird. Okay. Here we are again. It's 11:50 p.m. I think it's April. Well, it's Saturday anyway. I think it's the 10th, is it? Or the 11th, maybe? Anyway, I'm reading Tobacco Road by Erskine Caldwell, 1937. Copyright. I got my angelfish headphones on, and I just read chapter 6, and then I read chapter 7, and now I'm reading chapter 8. I'm a little sleepy, which is good. It's a good thing. I read chapter 6 like 3 times because the first time it didn't even work, and I read the whole thing and it didn't even work. Second time the sound was crappy, so tonight I read it again, and the picture was really gross, pixelated and stuff. At least the beginning was. But the sound seemed alright. The Wi-Fi here, right where I'm parked, is pretty decent. So without much more ado, I will start to read chapter 8. Erskine Caldwell. Tobacco Road. Let's get more comfortable. Oh, I need my readers. That's what I'm forgetting. Because I'm reading, I need readers. There was nothing Jeter could find to do in the sand hills that would pay him even a few cents a day for his labor. There were no farmers within 20 miles who hired help, because practically all of them were in Jeter's condition, some of them in an even worse one. Nor were there any lumber mills or turpentine stills anywhere near the tobacco road that would employ him. The only job in the surrounding country was the one at the coal chute, and Love had held it since the Augusta and Georgia Southern Railroad was first built. They long and rolling them to the edge of the structure where they were dumped into the engine tenders required a strong back and stronger arms. Love could do the work because he had become accustomed to it. For Jeter to attempt such hard labor in the weakened condition he was in would have been foolish even if the railroad would have hired him. The hope that he would find Tom was Jeter's sustaining strength. Behind his hopeful belief that Tom would give him some money lay his fear of dying without a suit of clothes to be buried in. He had developed a growing horror. Eldest son out of 17 children. 5 of them children died. Ada, too, talked a lot about getting clothes to dye in. She wanted a silk dress, and it mattered little to her whether the color was red or black, so long as it was stylish in length. Ada had a dress she had been keeping several years to dye in, but she was constantly worried for fear that the dress might not be of the correct length. One year it was stylish to have dresses one length, and the next year they were mysteriously lengthened or shortened several inches. It had been impossible for her to keep up with the changes consequently. Even though she had a dress put away, she still tried to make Jeter promise to buy her a new one that would be in style and in keeping with the times when she should die. Ada believed she would die almost any day. She was usually surprised to wake up in the morning and discover that she was still alive. The pellagra that was slowly squeezing the life from her emaciated body was a lingering death. The old grandmother had pellagra too, but somehow she would not die. Her frail body struggled day after day with the disease, but except for the slow withering of her skin and flesh, no one was able to say when she would die. She weighed only 72 pounds now. Once she had been a large woman, and she had weighed 200 pounds 20 years before. Jeter was angry with her because she persisted in living and would not let her have any food when he could keep her from eating it. However, she had learned now to find her own means of sustenance, such as it was. How she did it, no one knew. Sometimes she would boil leaves and roots. At other times, she would eat wild grass and flowers in the fields. Jeter had already given implicit instructions regarding his own burial. He had impressed upon both Ada and Love the importance of carrying out his plans. He expected to outlive Ada, but in case he should be killed in his automobile, he had made her promise to buy him a suit of clothes. It was impossible. She was to go to Fuller and ask some of the merchants to give her an old suit for him. Love, too, had to swear that he would see that Jeter was buried in a suit of clothes instead of in overalls. But there was another thing connected with his death that was of equal importance. Jester had a horror of rats. That was strange, because he had lived with them all around him all his life, and he knew their ways almost as well as he did those of men. His reason for hating rats was because of an incident that had happened when his father died while Jeter was a young man. The older Lester had died in the same house Jeter had now occupied, and he was buried on the following day. That night, while Jeter and the other men were sitting up with the body, someone had suggested that they all go to Fuller and get some Coca-Colas and tobacco. They were to sit up all night, and they had felt the need of something to drink and something to smoke. As all of the men, including Jeter, had wanted to go to Fuller, they had put the body in the corn crib and locked the door. The crib was the only place on the farm where anything could be locked up and found intact later. Negroes and white men had a habit of coming by the Lester house during the night and carrying away anything that had been left unprotected. Sorry about that. No, I'm not. None of the doors of the house had locks on them, but the crib door did have a lock. The men had placed the body inside, locked the door, and put the key away, and had driven to Fuller for the Coca-Colas and tobacco. They returned to the house about 3 or 4 hours later. As soon as the mules were unhitched from the buggies and tied to the wagon wheels for the rest of the night, the men unlocked the crib door, lifted out the wooden box, and carried it back into the house. The remainder of the night was spent in watching the casket, drinking Coca-Colas, and smoking and chewing tobacco. The following afternoon at the funeral, just as the casket was about to be lowered into the grave, the top was lifted off hold on a second. Oh boy. The top was lifted off in order that the family and friends might take a last look at the deceased. The lid was turned back, and just as it was fully open, a large corn crib rat jumped out and disappeared in the woods. Nobody knew how the rat had got inside until someone found a hole in the bottom of the wooden box where the rat had gnawed through while it was locked in the crib. One by one, people filed past the casket, and each time it became the next person's turn to look at the body, a strange look came over his face. Some of the women giggled, and the men grinned at each other. Jeter ran to the side of the box and saw what had happened. The rat had eaten away nearly all of the left side of his father's face and neck. Jeter closed the lid and had the box lowered into the grave immediately. He had never forgotten that day. Now that the time was coming when he would soon die, Jeter had become more insistent than ever that his body was not to be put into a corn crib or left where the rats could reach it. Love had promised faithfully to see that the rats did not get to him before he was buried. "You've got to swear to me you won't let me be left in the box where the rats can get me," Jeter had said dozens of times. "I declare before the good Lord, Love, that ain't a fit way to treat the dead. I've regretted my own father's circumstance every day since that happened, and I declare before the Lord, I sure don't want that thing to happen to me when I'm dead and can't do nothing about it." "You don't need to worry none," Love had said. "I'll dig a hole and put you in it right after you're gone. I won't wait for the next day even. I'll put you in the ground the same hour you die. Almost. I'll take care of your body. Don't you worry none. Just don't put the coffin in that derned corn crib, Love, no matter what else you do. There ain't no rats staying in there now since I ain't had corn in it for nearly 5 years. They take trips back here every once in a while from the place they're staying at now just to make sure there ain't been no corn put in it. Before they left, they ate up mule collars and everything else they could get a hold of. They was that mad at me for not putting corn in there for them. I used to bust them on the head with sticks, but that didn't stop them from coming back every once in a while. I was in there not so long ago getting me some corn cobs, and one of them bit my leg before I could get out. They have sure got it in good and heavy for me, because I don't put no corn in there for them to eat up. Oh my goodness. What is happening here? Why am I so snotty right now? Because I'm reading on YouTube. Ada, too, had promised Jeter to see that his body would not be left exposed to the rats that he hated so much. But Jeter did not worry her as much as he did Love, because he believed he would outlive her by several years. Ada herself looked as if she might die before Jeter did. Her teeth had all dropped out. She had dipped snuff since she was 8 years old. Her teeth had not lasted very long after she was married. Her one concern, besides the constant desire for more snuff, was with her own death. The thought she might not have a stylish dress when she died was bothering her night and day. She did not trust Jeter any too much to furnish it when the time came. That was the reason she kept that old dress put away to be used in case a more up-to-date one was not bought for her. "If I could find out where my daughters was living, maybe they would help me get a stylish dress to die in," she had said. Lizzie Bell used to love her old ma a lot. "I know she'd help me get one if I could find out where she's at, and Clara might help some too. I don't know if the others would want to help none or not. It's been such a long time since I saw the rest of them, I've just forgot about what they was like. Seems like I can't recall all their names even sometimes." "Lizzie Bell might be making a lot of money over in the mills," Jeter had said. "Made her and ask her about it. She might come sometime and bring us a little money. I know Bailey would bring us some snuff and rations if I knowed where to find him. Bailey was just about the best of all the boys. He was good to me even when he was just a little boy. He was never stealing all the molasses we had saving for supper, like the rest of them. I expect maybe he's got to be a pretty big merchant somewheres by now. He always said he was going to make a lot of money so he wouldn't have to go barefooted in the wintertime like Tom and Clara did when they went away." Ada talked to Jeter whenever the subject was that of their children away from home. It seemed as if she were not interested enough in other things to talk about anymore. She answered Jeter's questions most of the time, and she scolded him when there was nothing in the house to eat. The rest of the time she had very little to say. But whenever Bailey's name, or Lizzie Bell's, or Clara's, or Walker's, or any of the children's was mentioned, she lost the hollow look in her eyes and wanted to talk about them for the rest of the day. None of the children who had left home had ever been back to visit, nor had they ever sent a message. Because Ada and Jeter had never received one, they believed that all of the children were alive. There was no way of knowing whether they were dead or not. I'm going over to Burke County and see Tom, Jeter had told Ada. I've made up my mind that I'll go there and see him before I die. Everybody in Fuller tells me he's hauling cross ties out of the camp by the wagon load, day and night. They say he's got a whopping big cross tie camp over there. From what people say about him, I reckon he's a powerful rich man now. He sure ought to give me some money, though it sometimes looks like a rich man will never help the poor, whereas the poor people will give away everything they has to help somebody who ain't got nothing. That's how it looks to me. Don't seem like it ought to be that way, but I reckon the rich ain't got no time to fool with us poor folks. When you see Tom, tell him that his old ma would like powerful much to see him. You tell him that I said he was near about the best of the whole 17. Clara and Lizzie Bell was about the best, I reckon, but Tom and Bailey led the boys when it came to being good children. You tell Tom I said he was the best of them, and maybe he'll send me some money for a stylish dress. Pearl is the prettiest, Jeter said. Ain't none of the other gals got pretty yellow hair like she has. Nor them pale blue eyes, neither. She's the first Lester I ever saw who had yellow hair. It's funny about her having it, ain't it, Ada? Pearl is my favorite, I reckon, Ada said. I wish she would come and see me sometimes. I ain't seen her since she left last summer to get married to Love. I'm going to tell Tom he ought to give me some money, Jeter said. The folks in Fuller say he's a powerful rich man now. You better not forget to mention to him that his old ma sure would like for him to get her a stylish dress to die in. I know he won't stand back with a little of his money for a thing like that. I'm going to mention to him when I see him, but I don't know how he'll take it. I expect he's got a wife and a raft and children to provide for. Maybe he'll give it to me, though. Reckon Tom has got some children? Maybe some. I sure would like to see them. I know I must have a whole lot of grandchildren somewhere. I'm bound to have, with all them boys and girls off from home. If I could see Tom, maybe I wouldn't mind it so bad that I can't see the rest of them. I just know I ought to have grandchildren somewhere in the country. Lizzie Bell and Clara has got a raft of children, I reckon. They was always talking about having them. And they say over in Fuller that Lizzie Bell has got a lot of them. I don't know how other folks know more about such things than I do. Looks like I ought to be the one who knows the most about my children. Maybe you could get Tom to bring his children over here to see me. You tell him I want to see my grandchildren, and maybe he'll consent to bring them. Ada had talked several times about Tom bringing the children to see her. Every time Jeter said anything about going over to Burke County, where Tom's cross tie camp was, she reminded him not to forget to tell Tom what she had said. But from year to year, as Jeter failed to start, she had become less inclined to talk about the possibility of seeing any of the grandchildren. Jeter could not get started. He would say he was going to the next day, but he always put off the trip at the last minute. Jeter made a false start somewhere nearly every day. He was going to Fuller, or he was going to McCoy, or he was going to Augusta, but he never went when he said he would. If he told Ada at night that he was going to McCoy early the next morning, he would decide at the last minute to go to Fuller or Augusta instead. Usually he would have to stop and walk out over the old cotton fields and look at the tall brown broom sedge. and that made him think about something else. When he did walk out into the sedge, the chances were that he would lie down and take a nap. It was a wonder how he ever got the wood cut that he hauled to Augusta. Sometimes it took him a whole week to cut enough blackjack for a load. Just then, it was the beginning of the new season that was causing him to change his mind frequently. The smell of the burning broom sedge and pine undergrowth was in the air every day now. Some of the land was even broken away off in the distance, and he could detect the aroma of freshly turned earth miles away. The smell of newly turned earth that others were never conscious of reached Jeter's nostrils with a more pungent odor than anyone else could ever detect in the air. That made him want to go out right away and burn over the cold cotton fields and plant a crop. Other men were doing that all around him, but even if he succeeded in borrowing a mule, Jeter did not know where to begin begging for credit to buy seed cotton and guano. The merchants in Fuller had heard his plea so many times that they knew what he was going to ask for as soon as he walked in the door, and before he could say the first word, they were shaking their heads and going back where he could not follow them, and he did not know what to do about it. Jeter postponed nearly everything a man could think of, but when it came to plowing the land and planting cotton, he was as persistent as any man could be about such things. He started out every day with his enthusiasm at fever pitch, and by night he was still as determined as ever to find a mule he could borrow and a merchant who would give him credit for seed cotton and guano. That was chapter 8. Now I'm looking for my bookmark because I'm going to stop there. Will I read another chapter? No, I will not tonight, but we're halfway through the book. This book, Tobacco Road, by Erskine Caldwell, 1937.